What's up? What's up? What's up, people? Welcome to another installment of By Any Means, By Any Means, the podcast. Yes, we are live tonight. Listen, I got a couple of folks joining me tonight. Again, some family folks out here. So, we don't get it together though. So listen, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, last week's episode was called Eyes Wide Shut. Money ain't racist. Here's the thing, right? So I was on Facebook last Tuesday, as a matter of fact. I'm sitting here minding my own business. I'm on my laptop. I'm trying to work, and I see something come across the screen. DT, what's up, my boy?
Hey, what's up? What's up?
Yeah. So look, we I forgot I can't say yo to you. I'm forgetting. My bad. All right. So look, I was just letting the people know how he came up with the title, right? Eyes Wide Shut, Money Ain't Racist. So last week I was on Facebook, minding my business, watching TV, CNN in the background, just ambient noise like I always do when I'm working. And I see that it's about 6:00 in the afternoon, right? Donald Trump announces that he is going to give a loan, $765 million loan to Kodak, the film company, right? To produce ingredients for generic drugs. I immediately sniffed something was going on, right? Why would Kodak be producing pharmaceutical drugs? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Didn't make sense to me, right? Yeah. So I went and I did a little bit of digging, found out all kinds of, suspicious details. And, I won't go through the list because by now it's public knowledge, but I immediately sniffed it out and went and I saw all the evidence and it looked like a bit of insider trading to me. And then it come to find out that the CEO exercised stock options the day before they announced this big $765 million loans to start a new business. So, I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. And I went on Facebook and I posted it because I knew it was a money grab, right? And a lot of people were like, yo, why are you reposting this video? I'm sorry, it was the video with the crazy lady, supposed doctor out of Houston. What's up, Bridget?
Hey.
Oh, she'll be back. But yeah, it was a video with the crazy doctor out of Houston saying how that drug, I won't even say the name anymore, but that drug is how it's supposed to be the cure for COVID-19 and whatnot. Anyways, long story short, we all know it was a fluke and everything, but what I was trying to get people to do was read between the lines. And understand that, there's always an agenda, right? If mainstream media isn't picking it up, it's kind of like a big story. If they're not picking it up, there's got to be a reason behind it. And I went and I posted that on Facebook and I got all kinds of pushback. Man, somebody said something like, how they shady, but they're not shady. And I was like, it is what it is. I don't care. But, it's kind of proving my point. You can't be so emotional about stuff that you overlook. You can't be so emotional that you overlook what's right in front of your face, right? We can go and fight corruption in every other government around the world, but we turn a blind eye to the corruption that's in our own government. So that's kind of where the title came from. If you haven't seen the episode, go to www.bandpodlive.com. I even posted on Facebook. So just go like and follow the group. You'll see every episode that we post going forward. So go check it out. Anyways, welcome. I want to stop for a minute. I just want to let y'all know how I came with the title and what it's all about. Go check the episode out. But I want to say welcome to my co-host Derek and Queen B, Bridget.
Hey. Rumble like the bee, huh? But throw a hex on the horse.
Yeah. So look, what was the big takeaway from the episode for you guys, man?
Would you like to go first, Bridget?
You go first.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we talked about Eyes Wide Shut, and money ain't racist. I really want people to recognize that, hey, this isn't a black and white green, yellow, purple thing. We're talking about economics. If you are a welcomed returning guest or viewer of By Any Means Podcast Live, you know that we really focus and delve into economic empowerment, and we really talk about humanity. Yes, you may see Kelvin, Bridget, and myself, and we are Black humans, right? Not just people, not just numbers, statistics. We are Black humans, right? But at the end of oh, I'm preaching. My bad. My bad.
No, 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 no. You good. I'm just not black. I'm salted caramel. Burnt salted caramel. You know what I'm saying?
I'm rolling my eyes. Go ahead, Jerry. You was going deep, and then he just brought us right back.
My bad. Go ahead, Derek. My bad.
Don't let him your deep shine. Have your moment.
But that's the beauty of the show. We all have our purpose and our light. And it's not just about the host on the show, it's also in life. There's room for everybody. And that's why that actually ties into Money Ain't Racist. Like, this isn't about your color, your creed, your ethnicity. No, we understand economic empowerment. We understand humanity. We all as humans need to see each other as humans. And when we think about humanity, there's a lot of things that we forget or we escape in the systems that we involve ourselves in. And part of that is economics and money. So that being said, money ain't racist. However, sometimes people and systems are. So we talked about that in the episode, and the fact that there are some disenfranchised people based on people and how they take and utilize their power and also money. And it's funny because at work one time, an older fraternity brother of mine, shout out to the Nukes, he had told me, yeah, man, I've done some real estate development investment in my time. And it's funny because you realize how people with power make money off of the poor or make money off of poverty. And we've talked about this episode. And yes, Kelvin, we have a plan. We have a plan for that, a plan of action, a course of action. But stay tuned, everybody. However, it's funny because no, money ain't racist, but sometimes the people and systems are, and we need to be cognizant of what's happening around us. In order to play the game, you got to know the game. So in terms of economics and money and the country, corporation, as I called it in the episode, we got to pay attention. And I'm pretty sure we're probably going to talk a little bit about, humanity and how we're treating a certain senator and now quote unquote a nominee right now. So yeah, we might get there too.
I abstain from that conversation. No, I'm joking. I think, interestingly enough, I think my biggest takeaway, if I had to repeat it, would have been pretty much what Derek said, right? Which is that money ain't racist, but people are, right? Systems are. There's a lot of things that are put in place of the people controlling money that are extremely racist. But I think that, interestingly enough, the thing that probably was most tangible is I think you always got to think about your actions post-show, right? What are the conversations that you're having at the dinner table or via Zoom or on the phone or with your children or with your friends or with your loved ones, right? And so, interestingly enough, one of the things I think that Kelvin said during the episode, if I remember correctly, was just about how, we remember our parents growing up being like, I'm broke, I ain't got it. I don't have the money, or somebody brought it up on the show. And I do that all the time with my kid. I'm like, I'm broke. So he literally says like, mommy's broke. Like, mommy, I want this, mommy, or can we get this? But I know you're broke. Like, say that. And so my shift in interaction with him, like in the past 24 hours, 48 hours, really since the show has been, I was like, mommy's not broke. I was like, I'm not broke, son. I said, I do have money. I said, I just like to be thoughtful about where I spend my money. So sometimes I say I'm broke to be because I don't want to spend the money, but it's not that I don't have it. I just want to be smart with it. So today in the car, when we dropped my mother off, we talked about assets, liabilities. We talked about, he's 5, right? We talked about assets, liabilities, investments, savings, spending. He told me all this money that he found in the treasure chest out in the backyard and what all he was going to do. And I said, well, are you going to save some? And, he was like, yeah, I'm going to save $200. And I'm, it's like, well, are you invest? And he's like, yeah, what's that? And I was like, well, So I would say that's probably the most tangible, is that I got to have a talk with my son about finances that was a lot more, I think, one, transparent, and two, I think a lot more tangible for future conversations.
Amen, yo.
Yeah.
I like your stories about you and your son. I'm trying to tell you. Oh my God.
He'll be out here in a minute. Smell like
That's what's up.
He's gonna be right here.
That's what's up. You know, for me, one of the things that I realized after we had the episode was that I never really explained the money ain't racist part, right? So we know that money ain't racist. People who use the money, people with money, are racist, can be racist, right? Just to push it a little bit further, money ain't racist, meaning no one race has, eminent domain over capitalism, which means we can use our money.
Yes.
That's powerful.
In the right way, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that was the other reason that I never really got to speak about it in the episode, but it's the truth, right? Like, no one race owns a monopoly on capitalism. We can put our brains together, our dollars together. Literally $1 per person could go a long way if we just commit to it. And name one person who doesn't have $1.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can literally walk around and collect 100 pennies. Look, don't knock it. I've seen somebody do it, legit.
Hey,
I promise you.
You better put them pennies in that roll.
Hey, man, he didn't even have a roll, man. He had a sock. Old boy was walking around the hood with a sock, picking up pennies.
Hey, homie, don't play that. Homie, don't play that.
But it's the truth, though, right? Like, at the end of the day, everybody got $1, and if we all put our collective, spending power together, I always, we say all the time, African Americans are 13% of the population, right? What's that? Somewhere around, was it 330 something million people in the country? Yeah. So what are we talking about? Like, what? I can't do the math, but at the end of the day, we're talking about like 36 million people. I don't know. Is that too many? 10% is 33.
Stop. Just stop right there.
Yeah. So let's say 36, 37 million people. That's a lot of money, right? That can go a long ways towards making a difference. So yeah, man, we just got to be innovative. We got to be thoughtful. We got to be present-minded when it comes to the things that we see, especially in the media, man, because that thing really boiled my blood when I saw the insider trading incident happen, and knowing that not everybody has the professional training that I do. I felt it necessary to kind of put the bug out into people's minds and get them thinking a little bit differently, if at all possible, in my own special way. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, two things. I want to get back to your point, because that was a major takeaway too, and I think I alluded to it too. But you are more well versed in terms of like the financial markets, and I want you to really delve into that a little bit. But at the high level, the service level, what did I touch on? I said we got to be more cognizant. We got to pay attention. We got to open our ears. We got two of them. We got to close our mouths, open our ears, and open our eyes. It's 2 eyes and 2 ears. And like you said, Kelvin, things are happening right in front of our eyes, right at our doorstep, right at our mailbox. Think about USPS. Oh my gosh, I can't speak to that because that's a quasi-fed thing, and I don't want to delve into that. But just think about what's happening. Like, think about these streets out here. Like we Kelvin, you and I, we live in the immediate DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and think about the hot lanes. They privatized the roads. Who did that? Did we have investment options into that? Were we cognizant of it? Were we aware? Could we invest in time to make money off of that? It's highway robbery. That's what I call it. But there's USPS happening trying to. All right, let me take a step back. All right, so
so now you got to let the viewers know what's going on, just in case they don't know.
Well, I mean, this has been an ongoing thing, right? Because just think about real estate investment from a local state perspective, right? People that are in elected official seats and of power, lobbyists and people of big business, mid-sized business, small business, they have some leverage due to the money that they have. And a lot of real estate planning happens years in advance, whether that's 10, 15, 30 years in advance. But who's at the seat at the table with that discussion and planning an investment option? And that's part of this conversation too. Money ain't racist, but guess what? Some of the systems and people are. So who do you have as a representation at those tables in those boardrooms? Whoever has the decision-making power. And, we have been cut out of a lot of things. We talked about redlining. We talk about real estate, whether it's commercial or residential. Man, there's been so much disservice to not only the African-American Black community, demographic and diaspora, but there's been a lot to happen to many disenfranchised and franchised people in just America alone, domestically. We're not going to talk globally. We could, but just domestically alone, people that are empowered. We're talking about power. Kelvin, you say it all the time, economic empowerment. Racism ain't a part. It's a part of this, but it ain't the root. Like, money is at the root. And that's why we came up with this topic, people. We got to pay attention. We got to pool our resources together. $1. Do you know what we could do with $1 from everybody? And Kelvin, that goes back to the point. I did the math. Hold on. Let me add that in there. Add a zero.
300. I don't know what 13% of 330 million people is.
So I upped it. Look. I gave us one extra percent to 14%. So let's just round it off at 330 million, which we lost a lot of people due to this pandemic. That's another thing. We lost a lot of people through this pandemic, and nobody cares that's in power. Woo! So 330 million times 14%. I'm going to go up from 13. That's 46,200,000. So 46,200,000.
I was off by a little bit.
No, but think about that. $1 of
right
out of each. We're even going to count the babies, because your parents, if you got a child, you can have to put in another $1, just like you do in a church plate.
Yeah. What was I going to say? One of the things that came up while you were talking, Calvin, was this idea, like the idea of capitalism, and that capitalism, I think sometimes in the Black community sounds like a bad word, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, I don't know if I have enough expertise necessarily to speak on it deeply, but in my mind, like, speaking around being capitalistic and capitalism, I think sometimes is looked down upon in our community. I'm just wondering, do either of you have any, thoughts on that? Because it feels like a bad thing, right? It feels like something that we shouldn't be doing, And so I'm interested, because you talked about that, about how do you feel like that shows up in our community? I know I'm not the question asked per se, but I, when you said it, I was like, "Ooh, capitalism! It just sounds bad."
No, yeah, I know, right? It's crazy, man. It's words like capitalism and nepotism, all the isms, right? That I just assumed to be negative words in our community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, looking out for your own is called nepotism, and it's frowned upon in our community. Yet in the white community, they do it all the time.
All the time.
When you speak about capitalism, come on, man. Some of the smartest, wisest, most efficient and effective business people I know on the corner selling drugs. What are you talking about? So, not that I condone, that type of illegal activity, but at the end of the day, you talk about people who didn't graduate from high school, who couldn't tell you what's 20 plus 20, but could sit there and tell you how much, a brick costs, or how much a pound of weed costs, and then how much that breaks down, what an ounce costs, and they can do the math and give you what their expected return gonna be. I think sometimes we have to realize that the same things that make other races effective in the business world are the same things that we do on a much smaller level, coming from the type of community that I came from. And if you take that same energy and redirect it towards something positive, you can wind up there's really no difference between you and anybody else on this planet. You know what I mean? So yeah, to your point, capitalism may have a negative connotation. It seems like oppression. It's kind of synonymous with oppression. You know, it's
Yeah.
what is capitalism? It's the capitalists or the people who create the jobs, and then there are the working class, the people who
Yes.
work in those jobs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's pretty much it. If you are in the mind frame of working and creating jobs and you put yourself into position. I always say my benchmark is, can you take off 6 months and still earn money and not be hurting when you come back? Then you are a capitalist. Because I know CEOs that have ended their jobs, haven't gotten a job for 2 years, and they still eating
Yeah.
caviar on private
Yeah.
jet. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
No,
saying?
100%.
Compound interest. Compound interest.
And 100%, I think that was one of the things that I'm feeling or thinking, right, is that we need to begin when it comes to thinking about money in general and other things as well. We need to begin to take these words that feel like bad words, because the way that we've interacted with these words is in a space of labeling folks who we feel like, or folks who have been oppressing us, right? So if we're labeling our oppressor as a capitalist, as power hungry, as money, like all of these things, now all of those things become negative. So then culturally, when we are hungry for money, when we want to capitalize, when we want to, it now is something that we look at each other and we're thinking that's a bad thing, right? And the reality of it is that at our core, we do want that. So then I think that could beget jealousy and all those other things that we talked about even in the last episode. I think another word that also is like a cuss word in the Black community is power, right? I think we're okay with embracing the word empower. So I have a couple friends who are also pursuing their doctorates. Shout out to my future doctors, to my one girlfriend Devana. And as I'm working on some business stuff as well, one of the things that she brought up about the word empower, right? She was just like, hey, people talk all the time about empowering the Black community, but it's almost kind of negative too, because sometimes it's like, well, if somebody's giving you something, right? So, and I'm not saying we can't use it. We talk about empowerment all the time, right? But in the context of the oppressor using the word empower, that means that they had the power enough to give us the power. So don't, like, there's nothing wrong with money, there's nothing wrong with power, and there's nothing wrong with respect. And I think we have to flip those words on their head and begin
Right.
to own and live in that truth, that those things are okay to have and those are things are okay to be within our entire community.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Like,
Bad boy. Bad boy. Money,
I'm
power, respect.
a bad boy. I can tell you everywhere I was when every Bad Boy song came out. Like what I
Yeah.
have been doing, I could everything. What lyrics I shouldn't have known at 13.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, anyway.
You know what though? Bridget, you make a very valid point. People associate power. Power has a negative connotation as well.
Yeah.
There's two phrases that I've heard before in my life that have kind of stuck with me and kind of been on my mind and on my heart ever since I heard them. And I don't even know if they're really that widespread, in the business community. But the two terms that I've taken to heart and to mind, and that's venture. I mean, not venture. Venture philanthropy,
Mhm.
and the other one is dang, it's just slipped my mind that fast. Waiting, but anyways, the whole concept of venture philanthropy, right? What if you can create a business that is designed around giving back to the community?
You can.
What if you can make money by empowering others on a much larger scale economically, right? It's one thing to give you the skill sets, teach you the traits, personality traits that will help you succeed. It's one thing to give you all the places to go to this address, talk to this person, go to that address, talk to this person. But at the end of the day, you got to kind of have, you know, shucks, if you ain't got the money to get on the bus to get there, right? Then what can you do? But if you can create a scenario where you're like inherently empowering people to leverage what is arguably the most important aspect of life in America, which is your finances, right? And I hate to keep going back to this, but it's the truth, right? Like it's ingrained in the fabric of who I am. Um, the whole like to find a way to make money by making other people wealthy and giving well not necessarily making them wealthy but giving them the opportunity to be a responsible person and get themselves out of a situation that they had no uh you know uh, they were in at no fault of their own. I think is very powerful, right? So that term kind of stuck with me, man. Venture philanthropy. How can you find a way to do the right thing by a lot of people while doing right by yourself at the same time? Because we all know the purpose of going into business is to make money, right? So it just that made me think of that term when you were speaking about terms that have negative connotations in the Black community, you know, um, like power and the other two terms we spoke about already, but you get what I'm saying, right? Venture philanthropy is a good one, right? It's mostly associated with like venture capitalists who's just giving money away, like old lady just did to Hampton.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah. I feel like I'm tired of giving away my product placements. You know what I'm saying? I gotta start getting some money for that. So yeah. Anyways, real quick, I want to take a break, and if you guys are okay with it, I would like to speak about our potential
Senator
vice president.
Senator nominee.
Our potential vice president.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna smile. I'm just gonna wait. Okay.
I'll, and everybody knows it on here, and people that watch the show. I'm a federal employee, so there are things that I can comfortably talk about more so than others. This is not so much. However, it depends on angles, and I'm not going to speak about prior POTUS, nor the current POTUS. What I am going to speak to and speak from is the fact that I'm a citizen of this nation. And that being said, we have the powers that be have done a disservice to this nation, to its citizens, we the people, because of money and power. And that has not been a new thing. That has been happening for a while. I'm just going to label this for a while. And that being said, we know that it's time for change, but in order to change, we need to be the change. That's why it's important to talk about representation. And let's turn representation to our potential vice president nominee, current Senator Harris. I appreciate her, even with knowing some quote unquote ills of her past in terms of the career that she has been in. If you don't know, she was a prosecutor, so she's a lawyer. She is highly educated. She is, and it's funny. I don't know why we distract ourselves, and not just our own community, but we as citizens. I just talked about this. Let's not get distracted by the fact that right now we know that the system has given us not the best candidates. I don't care what side of the aisle you're talking about. This is a nonpartisan conversation. We all recognize that we don't have the best candidates for our POTUS and vice POTUS position. However, don't play with this. Don't play this like it's a game. Do not play this like it's a game. It's not a game. Politics matter to your everyday life. So when we have people misrepresenting and miseducating youth and the confused and the unlearned general public in America that have power because of social media following and sports and entertainment fame and money it's almost worse than the disservice that the system has done, because that's not adding value. Don't play with this. We do need to vote, no matter who the candidates are. We shall vote. We should vote. What we need to do is get our representation in place at the local, state, federal levels. We need to become active. If you're a doctor, okay, go do your work as a doctor. But then from a philanthropic standpoint, what are you doing in the community? Then what are you doing every day? Kelvin, we talked about this before. We're busy and we're lazy. We're lazy because we don't take time to go focus on our local, state, and federal elections. We don't we don't focus on the general body meetings. We don't look at the monthly, the quarterly, the annual results. We don't. I'm subject to that too. We don't, because we're either lazy. We are either lazy and or busy. We have commutes, we have work, we have children, we have community engagement. We have a lot of things that we do, but outside of that, we're also, so that's the busy side. We're also lazy. But I think there's a part of responsibility that the system needs to do too, as far as being transparent. Be more transparent and have the information on our face more. And there's some ways and tactics to do that. But I respect her. I may not agree 100% of everything that she's made or every decision that she's made in her career as a lawyer and a prosecutor in this nation. But you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because I know I haven't done everything perfectly. So we need to respect her and respect the position that she has been nominated for at this point. Don't play with this. Please do not play with this. This is not a game.
Go ahead.
Yes, no, I was going to say, I tend to agree with most of that. And, I'm prior military, so I understand that oftentimes in leadership positions, there are people there that maybe you don't agree with 1,000% the way that they do business, but because of their station and the way things are, you respect the position, and you figure out how to keep it moving and where you can adjust at your level. So I definitely would agree with Derek's sentiments. I think in that space, congratulations, to her. Obviously, this is history, and we need change, and we do need history, and we are being a part of history, and we've seen a lot of really interesting things happen over the past 8+ years as it relates to these positions. I think I'm still processing, if that makes sense. Like, I think I'm still processing. I know which way I'm voting. Obviously, there's not a question for me of what that's going to look like. It's not a question for me as to whether or not I am voting in all elections. I don't care what it is. If it's a vote at McDonald's and they say I'm exercising my right to vote, it's cheese, so. I'm so serious right now, so I also would agree with, don't be discouraged if you're not in total agreement about what's going on right now. But decisions that we make today are the decisions that are going to carry us through the next 4, whatever plus years. And then depending on what your local level, what that looks like, that as well. So it is serious, and it isn't something to be taken lightly. Our government right now, excuse my language, is a shit show, and the amount of cleanup that's going to have to happen after this, it would have been difficult for any administration. People are going to people were always promising things, over promising and potentially under delivering. And I think this is a situation where no matter who was coming into office, there would be a situation of under delivering and over promising, probably more so than in past years. I have been enjoying. I think that the part of it that I have been enjoying is that Black women, for the most part, have been really positive. At least in my timeline and things that I'm seeing. I think we have to be careful in general. We're real hard on women in politics. I was speaking about a friend in politics. I won't say any more details because you probably could connect it because she's pretty relevant right now. But she was speaking on some topics, some really serious topics on some really big networks. And under her picture, someone said, "Well, she needs to smile more." And I think we need to be really, but those are the things that people say, like,
No, I feel you.
what she got on, or her hair is, you know what I'm saying? Like, or, like whatever. And I think I could care less about what Senator Harris looks like, what she, you know what I'm saying? Like, what I'm interested in is, the decisions that she's going to be making on behalf, or influencing on behalf, of the people of this country. And I think we need to grow up and not be petty. Like, I'm not, I can't do petty anymore as it comes. I'm not a big politics person anyway, but I say all that to say that you have to be, like, at this point in the game, you have to at least be keyed in or tuned in on some level, because of everything that's happening and the way that's impacting us. And going back to money, it's also impacting our money. So if you don't care about nothing else, care about your coins.
Money.
100%. So I know I'm talking a lot, but yeah, congratulations to Senator. I'm not. This sounded shady. Congratulations on your little nomination. That's so ignorant when people do that. She's got on the little shoes over there, the little shoes. No. Seriously, in all seriousness, a heartfelt congratulations to Senator Harris.
Man, listen, I'm a look, okay. I don't work for the government, okay? I can speak freely. People got to be careful, man. Like you said, people need to grow up. First of all, you can't throw stones in a glass house.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the decisions that you've made in your life. You know what I'm saying? Not you guys, my host. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody should, though. Not you in particular, but everybody should. Like, think about all the decisions you made in your life. Have you always made the best decisions? You know what I mean? I think we have to understand the role of a trailblazer. Like, for all intents and purposes, the lady is and has been a trailblazer her entire career. First, how many times was she the first? How can you go in as the first African American anything and completely flip things and do things specifically for African Americans without ruining it for everybody that comes behind you? Now, that's all. Nothing can be proved, right? But it's the truth. Like, it's like, to a certain degree, you gotta kind of play the part until you can really get where you need to be to make that major change that you want to see. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they're not understanding the fact that she was like the first in so many different aspects of her career.
Yeah.
What's
It's
more
long
important?
game.
Go ahead.
I just said it's the long game too, right? Like,
Well,
I think we think about the short game, right? But it's not. It's the long game, and in her station and with her education, she understands that. She has to understand that it's about the long game. So, I support that.
Yeah, and it's like, look at her record since she's been a U.S. senator. You know what I mean? She's arguably been, on the right side of decision making in terms of, African Americans and criminal justice and all these other different things for the past 4 years. So apparently something clicked, right? Something's been different. And look, at the end of the day, and I'm a little biased because I got two daughters and I do want to see her, succeed and do well and go on to be the president, the whole 9 yards, right? The only thing I don't like about her is that she went to Howard. Other than that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and then here's the other thing for me. She has a perspective that we're not used to, right? She's from the other side of the courtroom. You know what I'm saying? She represented those folks who typically oppress us. You know what I mean? Like, think about your district attorneys usually have a good relationship with your police force, right? Because they want to get the high conviction rates and whatnot. In theory, they represent the victims, right? Even though we know that's not always true. So, I just think coming from a different perspective, she might understand how other people think. I don't think the onus is on her necessarily to perform. I think, truth be told, unpopular opinion, I think the onus is on us to hold her and everybody else in the office accountable for making decisions in our best interest. And
Mhm.
that happens through, voting, even if it's for cheese at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? like Bridget said, you know what I mean? We got to go to that vote. We got to make those phone calls to your, local elected officials and whatnot. And we got to hold them accountable. We can't just point the finger and say, you did this, you did that, you did this, but you're sitting on your, what, being either lazy or busy, right? Um, but to what we've all been saying for the past few weeks, that all is in my mind, it's a symptom of living paycheck to paycheck, right? You fix people's economic situation, maybe they'll have more time to pay attention to politics and participate in the process, right? So, we talk about first steps all the time, and that's why I think the first step, and I applaud people who are trying to disrupt the financial industry. There's more than one person working on it right now. And from the African American community. But I applaud those efforts and I hope they succeed. But at the end of the day, we can't be mad at Senator Harris for doing what she needed to do to get to this level
No.
um, that she's at. We just need to hold ourselves accountable to hold her accountable and everybody else. You know what I mean? Assuming that she does, they do win. I'm praying that they win and get a 45 out of office. Truth be told, but I mean, it is what it is. So that's all I have to
There's
say about
there's an article, like there was an article I read about some guy who's like, I guess, academic, very well noted, who's predicted every president that's won, like since he's been predicting
that.
them, and he predicts that Joe Biden, that he'll win this particular election. I'm like, don't let him be wrong this time.
Yeah, right.
That's what I said, like as I was reading it. But for me, this is just it's not an exciting time for me, I guess, in politics, and I don't feel excited by much. And I think mostly because the way that I'm interacting with politics and what's happening in the world right now is in a way that's a lot more sober than it's ever been. So I think, like you said, from an accountability standpoint, I'm I'm like, okay, all right, well, we got a team, we know who the team is, we know, like, just I'm kind of like, all right, let's go, what's next, that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm also, I think, I don't put anything past Trump, and I don't think his tricks are done and his antics, are done. And so I think there'll be some potentially what we call in the military spectacular attacks, some things to really kind of draw attention away or toward things moving into, election season. I guess we're in election season, but you know what I mean, moving closer to. So I think we need to be thoughtful about that as things are happening, that we're not getting distracted. It'll be, I think, also interesting to see how voting and how all that's going to go down, because we already know it's about to be. I seen a meme that said something about with the black aunties, they're going to be in line with their knees hurting, for hours to do what they need to do to vote. So all the black aunties out there, uncles, everybody else. So that's one of the things that kind of definitely keeps me up at night. Is something that I think about often, especially coming from an intelligence background. Kind of, what are those tricks and things that are coming up to distract us?
Look, I don't put it past them because did you hear the article about the top generals? I don't know if it's true or not, but the top generals not wanting to give him certain information because they feared that he might drag us into a war. Like, whenever your generals are judicious about the information they give you because they think you're going to act irrationally, that's a problem.
And let me tell you, I'm not saying I'm the smartest person in the world, but I'm talking about when he got elected. I said, this Joker gonna have the access to the red button? Oh, this is about to be wild. And the thing about it is, starting conflicts prior to, being at wartime while you're in office, creates a space where it gets weird as it relates to elections and moving people out of office. And so, and again, with the type of person that he is, I wouldn't put it past him. I wouldn't put it past the inciting, and I believe since the end of the closer to the end of the Obama administration that there has been calls out domestically for race wars and civil war here in the Americas. And now I have no data. It's just from what I've been watching and seeing. So again, I wouldn't put it past. I wouldn't put the foulest stuff past our current person that we got in the house and in the office. And I think that as Americans, and then like going one level deeper as Black Americans, we just really need to be not only storing up toilet paper, right, but we need to be thinking about just like all of the necessities and things that we might need to be doing in this time from a foresight perspective to prepare for potentially things to get worse before they get better. And I don't have a crystal ball and I don't have any privileged information. So I'm gonna say that now. Don't come looking for me to get information from me because you ain't gonna get nothing. But that is, like I said, that is something that keeps me up at night. And if I will say this out loud, if I was still in the Intel community today and was in a position to have to share certain information, I would be in the same boat as those generals.
Yeah, right. You know what? And this is the last thing I'll say about it, Derek. My bad.
Hey, look, I'm
right. Look, this is the last thing I'll say about it. But you know what else is kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel for me? We got to remember back in 2008, President Obama inherited what was at that time the worst financial crisis in American history. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of similarities between then and now. And, Republicans on a losing streak. I don't know what they're going to do, man. So what are you doing down? Lord, my down here. But anyways, the point is, yeah, so there's a lot of similarities. So I'm kind of, I think that'll bode well for Biden and Harris. The only problem is, like you said, what kind of tricks does old boy have up his sleeve, and where is that going to put us, so yeah, it is what it is. I think it's about that time because I'm being bombarded. Here, come say hi.
There's a little person. Hi.
You're live. You're live.
By any means.
By any means.
She was minding her little business with her elephant.
Yeah, right? She was, man. It's my baby. But that's why, I think it's important that, just kind of wrap things up. I think it's important that we understand that, we got to keep our eyes open and that no one race has a monopoly on capitalism. And let's put our minds and our money together and come up with a viable solution to change our situation. Because, no matter who we have in office, I'm tired of depending on politicians to do for us what we can do for ourselves. Right? We just got to be smart about it and employ some of the deploy. I don't know if you want to whichever word I'm searching for. Some of the tactics that we spoke about in previous episodes and in upcoming episodes, and we'll get there. You know what I mean? By the way, watch next. We got another episode that's really cool about protecting Black-owned business, legal protections for Black-owned businesses, and that's dropping on Monday. We got two very talented and skilled and knowledgeable attorneys coming on to speak to you all. So make sure you tune in and get some very valuable information. All right. That's about it. Give us some final thoughts, guys.
I talked enough. Go ahead, Derek.
All right. We didn't get to speak because we were talking about elections and voting and whatnot. So.
Yeah, well, the election and voting is fine. It's it's the other part. But this stuff really affects me because at the end of the day, I'm a citizen and I want the same rights equally as everybody else. Not only do I want to receive them, but I want others to have them as well. And I think it's about time. It's been past time that that becomes true within this nation, on this soil domestically. We have fought for this nation. We have built this nation. Uh, we have worked and toiled for this nation. We have birthed for this nation. We have ran up and down fields and tracks and courts for this nation. Um, we have done so much. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Rep John Lewis again, because I think we really do owe them a lot. The people that were truly altruistic and selfless within their job and within their fight for this nation. I'm gonna say I love the freedom fighters. I love the civilians, the citizens of this nation that have fought for years, for their lives, for the rights of the people. And that's all people. Like, it's funny because the gentleman that spoke at John Lewis's funeral said that it wasn't civil rights. It was a nonviolent movement for the Americas. Like, they were fighting for nonviolence in this nation because they know how violent this nation is, and how that was the foundation of this nation, violence. And they wanted to get away from that. And it wasn't just Black people, right? However, it was mainly Black people at that time, which has been beautiful about today's climate, because there's been more awakening, which again, I think speaks to the information age and social media and how we're able to share more. And these little cameras here, these little cameras here are saving and opening some eyes, not all, but some eyes. But thank you, John Lewis. Thank you, Fred Hampton, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, so many more, Medgar Evers. Thank you. Thank you to the people, the names that we do not know. Thank you to the names that only people in our community know. I want to say thank you to my Nana, because she integrated my aunts and uncles as the first in her rural Virginia area. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and we deserve more, but we got to do more. We can't, like you said, Kelvin, we can't throw stones in a glass house. We need economic empowerment, but we need to do that amongst ourselves. And that's not racist. That's not reverse racism. That's reality. Others have done it, and it's time for us to really do it. And people in those movements before, in the 60s, were getting to that, and then they were killed. We are that legacy. We need economic empowerment. We need to vote. We need representation as entrepreneurs and owners. We need employees. We need creatives. We need to get at the seats and the tables. We need to vote. We need to get in the local, state, federal levels and offices, because we can change the system when we're there. But if we're not there, we're just going to sit back. No, it's done. Don't play with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm a patriot at heart. I'm a veteran. I'm prior military. I've seen lost brothers and sisters, at war. We came with a number, and we came home with we went over there with a number. We came home with less. Mm-hmm. Folks fight and die for our country, for this country. And one of the things that I share with people often is, I think at the end of the day, when you are deployed, what happens is there's this major shift between what the mission is and fighting for your country and fighting for each other. And I know by the end of my deployment, the feelings that I had, I was much more tied to the people that I was with than the country or the cause that I was fighting for, because there were times when we were doing things that I had no idea why we were doing them, if that makes sense. But because it was our job, we were there, and the tactical level, we just want to come home with everybody that we went there with. And so for that reason, I just want to get to a place where I'm proud, whatever the circumstances of my ancestors, getting here. I want to get to a point where I'm proud to be an American, right? And also with the lineage of proud to be an African, of African descent, proud, like all of those things. But that level of pride, and I think that one of the ways to do that for us is to have economic power. I always talk about that. I think that while money isn't everything, I think money creates a space for freedom. Freedom creates a space for freedom of thought. Freedom of thought, creates a space for creativity. Creativity creates jobs and business. Like it's just this beautiful cycle to where it would be less about, trying to fight back about what's been done to us, for years and years and years, and not like, and being able to fight for, and continue to push forward and all the things, that we believe are necessary and critical for our community. So yeah, I guess those are my final thoughts. I don't know if they all connect or make sense, but I think that's just how I feel at the moment. So I'm just, yeah. But great discussion, great show. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I concur. Once again, thank you guys for being great. My man DT, Milady, Queen B.
He says that sometimes. I'm like, "Milady," I'm like, "Shut it down."
For sure. This has been another episode of By Any Means, the podcast live. All right. Remember, we got another episode coming on Monday, giving you some legal gems, all right, for protecting Black-owned businesses. And we'll see you next Wednesday live. All right. Yeah. See you soon. Peace.